I've always been critical of Samsung's phones. I just never thought they had the fit and finish that a expensive phone should have. Whether that's in the software or the hardware itself, it just wasn't for me and I thought they had a lot of issues. But I think that is changing, and even with all the latest smartphone announcements, I still think Samsung has the best phone right now with the Galaxy Note 8. So I've been using this phone since the announcement, so over a month now, and I've been using it every single day as basically either my daily driver or the one that's always in my pocket next to my daily. And during that time, I've come to fall in love with this phone, and that is something I have never said about a Samsung product. This phone is just really good. Now, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the thing that I like about this Samsung product the most is the design. I mean, Samsung has definitely been upping their game in the design front for the last few years, but I think we're finally to the point where the design on a Samsung product is some of the best in the industry. You don't have things like the ugly logo on the front of the phone always staring at you. Yes, I know I bought a Samsung phone and that's what I'm using. You don't have to tell me all the time. And the fit and finish of the phone is second to none. It feels solid, there's no creaks. It's using premium materials like metal and glass. It's just a well-designed phone. Now, there's a few things about the Note 8 compared to the Galaxy S8 that I think make the Note 8 better. For one, the Note is a little sharper around the edges. Now, when I first picked it up at the event, I didn't really like it. I thought it looked really boxy, but after using it, when I look at an S8 now, I feel like that just looks like an old design that's like too curvy. Now, another great thing here is the Infinity display. It's 6.3 inches, which is absolutely massive, but it's an AMOLED panel and it's from Samsung. So you know it's going to look great, and that is no exception here. The colors are vibrant, it's a huge screen, and it's very uniform, luckily. And because it's that Infinity display, it pretty much goes edge to edge. You just have a little bezel on the top and bottom. But what I like about the Note 8 is that I don't really get any of those spurious inputs from the edges. The edges don't seem to be as sensitive, or they don't fold over quite as much, which I really enjoy, especially coming from the S8 Plus. Now, even though I think this is Samsung's best designed phone by far, it isn't perfect. It still has the fingerprint sensor next to the camera in the back, which I know people try to defend, but it's not okay. But they do have the iris sensor in the front. For me, luckily on the Note 8, it works fine even with my glasses. On the S8, I had issues with that. I'm not sure if it was just my unit, but it works fine here. It's a little weird. I have to open my eyes really wide, but you know, it works. So luckily the fingerprint sensor isn't as much of an issue, but still, that's just not a good placement. Also, on the bottom of the phone, the cutouts don't match up, which is a little nitpick. But really, that's a testament to how far Samsung has come in their design. The fact that those are the only two things I have to complain about, that's a big difference from a few years ago. So yeah, I think the Note 8 is the best designed Android phone out right now, but what is it like to use? Luckily, we're getting to the point where pretty much whatever phone you buy is going to perform well. It doesn't really matter what the internals are, what the specs are. It's going to do what you ask it, and it's going to do it smoothly and pretty quickly. That is no different here with the Galaxy Note 8, and I wouldn't really count performance as a benefit in any phone these days. If you want a flagship phone, you shouldn't even really consider performance unless you have very specific needs. Any phone's going to perform great. Now, on the hardware side, one spec that does matter is the camera. And here we have dual 12 megapixel sensors with optical image stabilization. One camera is wide angle and one is telephoto. This is nothing new that we've seen in the industry, but what is great here is that it's a great camera and it takes really great photos. Samsung has implemented a feature they call live focus, which is basically a portrait mode, but you can adjust the blurriness of the background. I don't think it's the best in the industry, but the portrait photos off this phone look pretty good. Aside from that though, the just normal pictures that you take are about the best you can get in the industry. Really, with all of these top tier smartphones, it just depends on situation. Sometimes you're gonna get a good photo, and sometimes you're just gonna get a crappy photo. But what's great about these top end phones is that, for the most part, you're gonna get great photos. Now, on the software side of things, this is probably the biggest issue I've always had with Samsung is their software was just crap. But they've actually fixed it, and I don't mind using it. And dare I say, I actually kind of enjoy using it. It's running a heavily skinned version of Android 7.1.1, and usually heavily skinned version of ... means bad. But in Samsung's case, they've done a lot to improve the experience here, and the features that they include, I actually find myself using. One feature that I really like that I didn't think I would use, but I use pretty much every day, is called App Pair. So you can pair two apps together, so when you launch them, both apps open at the same time and you can multitask, which I find very useful if you want to watch a video and surf the internet or Twitter or whatever. It works really well for that. I also love Samsung Pay. This is one, I think, underrated feature of Samsung phones that you can just pay pretty much anywhere with your phone. Now, one thing I don't really like about the software is Bixby. This just seems pretty useless. I'd much rather use Google Assistant. Bixby, I understand the point. It's trying to better your life and make things easier, but it just doesn't. It's not really worth it. Worst of all is they still included a Bixby button on the side, so if you hit that, you're going to launch Bixby even if you just wanted to adjust the volume. That is annoying. Bixby, I think, is just useless. Finally though, I think the main reason most people would get a Note is for the S Pen, so you can write on the screen and tuck the stylus away back in the phone. It's just very easy. This is a feature that I personally don't really use that often. I find myself every once in a while taking it out, but it's just not a main selling point for me. But the fact that it's there and that you still have a very thin, very well-built phone that is IP68 water resistant, has expandable storage, has every feature that you want, the fact that it still has a pen that's tucked away, I think that's impressive, and it's definitely useful if this is a feature that you like. But yeah, that's what I think about the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. And I've had the pleasure of using pretty much all the latest flagships, and I still think that the Note 8 is the one to get. Like I said, we're kind of reaching uniformity across high-end phones. They're all expensive, they all run well, they all have good hardware, the cameras are pretty decent, so you have to look for the things that stand out. But for me, I think the Samsung Galaxy Note 8 has the best design, the best build, and just the best overall experience that you're gonna find in an Android phone today. And this is still my pick. But be sure to let me know down below in the comments, do you agree that the Note 8 is the best, or do you have a different pick? Let me know. I want to thank you all so much for watching and sticking around while I move and get everything settled and kind of take a little break, but I am back. Again, my name is Matt, and I will see you in my next video. See ya!